Good glorious morning, everyone. It's time for Tea with Glory, or me. I have a special message on my heart today that I want to share with you, and it has to do with the consciousness of health or consciousness of well-being. And I'm going to take a perspective all the way from the beginning of the book of Genesis in the Bible. In Genesis around chapter 2, with the start of everything, the Bible says that God had made man out of hard clay, and man was just this form on the ground. And then God breathed into man the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Now, I want to expand on that just a little bit, because man becoming a living soul, man became consciously aware of his connection with his Creator. Okay, that's the beginning of the story. And then further down in Genesis, around chapter 28, I think it was, I wrote it down, one of God's first promises to man, after he had come through some challenges and things like that, the story does have its plot. So, but the message in Genesis chapter 28 from God was that I will always be with you. I will never leave you or forsake you. He told him, and I will do all the things that I promised you that I would do. So now, over the course of a little span of time in that story, man had come through some ups and downs and some challenges and some things, and mostly was aware of the favor of God through all those situations. But sometimes, we get challenges that call our attention away. And then God reminded man, okay, his most precious creation, that I'm not going to leave you. I'm not going to go away from you. And I'm going to do all the things that I told you I was going to do. Now, in this present state, let's just fast forward to, 2019 here. Wow. Our lives are so distracted. And I kid you not, I don't believe that many of us find many relationships in our physical lives where we know that someone is going to be there for us constantly, that we can depend on them, that we can count on them, and that they're going to do everything that they say that they're going to do. Many, many times, for most of us, it might seem quite the opposite. But I want to bring our focus around to health. I have had some friends that have gone to the doctors, and I've worked in the medical profession many, many times, and it's a medical practice. I think many of them are still practicing, and so I find that I am much more able to put much more faith in the spiritual aspect of healing than I am with the physical aspect of healing, although it does have its place. Whether it's Western medicine, holistic medicine, or any of it, it does have its place. But we need to start with a strong spirit. And over in Exodus, now after the children of Israel, or God's children, God's creation, his children, we are all children of the Most High. We are all created by that same source, and although we get distracted, we have to find that way to bring ourselves back to the consciousness, the conscious awareness of where our health and our strength comes from. So I want to give you a couple of more stories, I think. In Exodus, the word says, I am the God that healeth thee, or I'm the source of your healing. Okay? Be consciously aware of where your healing really comes from. Okay? I make you, I break you. And I can make you again. So, let's see, where do I want to go from here? Oh, there are so many stories about challenges, and some of those challenges become physical. The greatest one, I think, was of Job, and I hope any of you would ever read the story of Job, because he faced some challenges, and he faced such challenges that all of the traumas that he attained on the path to probably the greatest one affected him physically. So spiritually, mentally, physically, spirit, mind, and body, it was all affected. All the trauma from the loss of his children, the loss of his financial independence, the how do I say, I would say maybe the loss of his wife, or the loss of her respect, or he lost touch with everything that he loved and he counted on, that he was committed to. Okay, so it's a wonderful, wonderful story. The part I want to bring out on that is that he became so frustrated and so upset. He became so sick in his spirit, mind, and body that he reached a point where he just he wanted to invoke God on another level. He's like, where are you? Where are you? Come and talk to me right now. I need you. I need to know. What did I do? What did I do? I've served you. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. And he goes, I need you to talk to me now. And behold, God did. My point in that story is when we invoke the presence of God, when we invoke the presence, become consciously aware that we really need God, whether we're mad at him or not. Okay? And I say him because God is neither male or female, but when we invoke that spirit, because we are at our wits' end, we are at the place where we know nothing else to do. And our illnesses these days get us to those places. Okay? He invoked the consciousness of the Lord. He says, I want to be connected to you because we got things to talk about. I don't understand this at all. And when he invoked that consciousness, God, as the story goes, appeared to him and said, okay, you call me? I'm here. What part of it, of this plan, of this scenario, is it that you're most frustrated with? And who are you and who am I? Now, this passage goes all the way over to like the New Testament, where Christ says, I and the Father are one, and yet my Father is greater than I. So the one who breathed the breath of life into us and made us consciously aware of who we are as a child of God is reminded that our Father, the pure consciousness, the greater consciousness, the higher power, God, okay, our Father is greater than us. And yet we are called in Philippians chapter 4 to be anxious for nothing, but in all your desires, by prayer and supplication. I'm going to change that word supplication to invocation. Okay? By prayer and calling upon that spirit that is within you, okay? But calling upon the higher self, calling upon the creator of it all, okay? Make your request known unto God, and the peace of God will keep your hearts and minds. Okay, so I'm going to go back to Job. God and Job, I want to say, had a little bit of a fight. Okay, I'm just going to put it down on that level. And at the end of the fight, Job was humbled even further than he was, because when God came to him, he was in a clay pool, scratching himself, potsherd and ashes, really, really at his lowest point. But he was humbled. He was humbled in his spirit. You know how teenagers will raise up against their fathers? Teenage boys will raise up against their fathers. I'm an alpha male too, kind of a deal. So I think that's kind of what Job was going through with God. But in the end, he was humbled, and he was brought back to his right mind. So be transformed by the renewal of your mind, okay? And that has a place in this too. But let's flip back over to the Old Testament, because there was another place that I wanted to bring you, and that was the story of Daniel in the lion's den. Daniel had become known in this kingdom, and he was actually a captured Jew. And he had become known in this kingdom as someone who would invoke the Spirit of God. And in the invocation of getting back to that consciousness, then Daniel was given great wisdom and knowledge, that he could interpret dreams, he could assist the kings in wisdom, and he was actually elevated in many, many ranks. And there came a time when a group of people decided that, you know, this just isn't working for us. This guy's a stick in our craw. Nah, we got to do something here. And so they devised a plot against Daniel and says, we got to bring him down. We got to find some way to bring him down. Well, okay, sickness will bring us down, and that's where I'm going with this. But Daniel's strength was in his ability to go back into the consciousness of God. That's what he was doing when he was praying 3 times a day. He was not so much, we get the term supplication and we get just begging. He was seeking the will of God and the consciousness of God, because he already knew that God had promised never to leave him, and that God would do everything that God said he would do. And God had said that I'm the Lord that healeth thee, and I'm the one that delivers you, and I'm the one that brings you out of the darkness. And okay? So Daniel had a close relationship, a close conscious awareness, connection, okay, with the force that not only gives us life, but also gives us health, spirit, mind, and body. So, in the midst of all of this, what am I trying to say to us? Where does our health really come from? One of the things that I recognized was Daniel was thrown into the lion's den, but he did the same thing in the lion's den that he had been doing outside the lion's den, getting in touch with God. As a matter of fact, they put Daniel in the den with the hungry lions, and they put a stone across, and the king even sealed it and said, Daniel, I wish you all the luck in the world. I hope that your God delivers you. Because the king was fond of Daniel. He needed Daniel. And we need people in our lives that will be consciously connected to the divine, to the extent that we can go forth and lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. We can speak to the dead. I'm not ready to go there yet. I think I would be a lot more afraid of that. However, we've been given the gifts of the Spirit when we are connected with the Spirit that created all things. Okay? And so Daniel turned his back to the lions, but turned his face to the Lord. So what I really, really want to tell you in conclusion, no matter what the doctor says, no matter what your body says, get in touch and get in tune with your body, okay? And get in tune with the consciousness, the awareness of the creator of that body. And ask it, what can I do? What shall I do? Okay? Invoke the presence, invoke the consciousness of the healing that is for you. God said, I am the Lord that healeth thee. And then if we go just before the New Testament, it says, by his stripes we were healed. And if you don't want to go into religion at all, or Christianity, or any of the other things, every doctrine, every word, every person, every spirit, people, has a conscious connection with all there is, ever was, ever will be. And sometimes we're so distracted that of course we do need help. And we need that help, spirit, mind, and body. And this is one of the things that I do in my practice. One of the first things I'm going to ask you is, where are you spiritually? What are you ready to believe for? If the doctor walks into your room and tells you you have the most deadly cancer that they've ever seen, you're going to drop dead in the next 3 days, what are you going to believe? Where are you connected? What is your conscious awareness of your state? The state of your consciousness, your state of mind. And you may have to make a choice. Okay? And please understand, spiritually, mentally, and physically, God knows, and the God consciousness trumps it all. Okay? That's your winning hand, either way. And when I pray for healing for someone, I pray for healing for that person for the highest good. And if that highest good is divine healing and that person passes, I almost rejoice, because for me, that is the ultimate healing. Because that means that our loved one no longer has to suffer. That they made the choice to reconnect with the pure consciousness, with the pure bliss. And they're not suffering anymore. It may sound a little different, but if we choose to stay here and endure some measure of suffering until we're at that place where we're ready to invoke our conscious awareness and get back to where God wants us to be, even rejuvenate, renew our minds. Okay. Healing is still available to us. How are we connected? I don't care if it's just a headache. Talk to that headache. Ask your body, okay, what can I do for you in this natural world? Do I need to drink some more water? Do I need an aspirin? Okay? Keep it as natural as you possibly can. And then if you have a recurrent headache and you want to find out what it's about, yeah, well, you might seek medical help. I'm not against that at all. But seek that medical help within the consciousness of the breath. Stop and take a deep breath. Okay, Lord, what's going on here? Help me. And help the people that are going to try to help me. Okay? Be consciously aware of your state of mind, your state of consciousness. I don't recommend calling God out and says, "You come here right now. I need to talk to you." But if your situation is at that point, then find that place where you'll be humbled before your Maker and spiritually aligned. Okay? That's about enough for today. We'll get into some bigger things as far as health is concerned as we go down the line. If you need a little assistance with something that you're dealing with, diabetes, high blood pressure, many things that we're coming against have to do with stress, which is going to put us in that state of mind that we need to go back to. Okay? 408-917-9013. Spirit, mind, and body. And I beseech you, therefore, dear brethren, by the mercies of God, that you offer your bodies a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, as your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that you may prove what is that good and acceptable will of God. Be consciously connected. And remember, God truly does love us all. Now you have a glorious day.